Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome one and all to another live stream. This time with my dear friend, the incandescent Vicky Poole, with slightly shorter hair. Today, we're as ever talking about how to respond, what's the business of responding to tenders, but we are talking about something which seems to be in the zeitgeist, seems to be really going on a lot right now, and that's forming consortia, that's partnering on tenders, and we're going to discuss a little bit of what you really need to know about it. I'm going to toss the ball straight over to you, Vicky.
Ball court, which was something that I never managed to do in rugby. Never mind. So, long story cut short. So partnering up on bids. So I'm having lots of conversations at the moment because part of what we do here at Tender Response, we find, qualify, and help you to respond to public sector bids. And quite a few of the bids that we're finding are like 80 to 90% what you do or what my client does. And then there's this tiny little bit, 10 to 15, maybe 20%, where it's not in your bag and you don't do it. So then what do? Because if you really, really want the contract, you kind of got to take a step towards doing that, doing the contract, maybe adding in a service, or do you? And that's the thing. You don't necessarily have to do everything. If you're going to sub out part of the contract, you're well within your rights to do that.
Right.
Part of the standard qualification documents that you get given to complete, which, they ask you to verify that you've got the standard insurances, modern slavery statements, and so on. One of the things they ask you for there is if you're going to be subbing out any part of the contract. And if you are, to who and why. So you can say, well, we're going to deliver all of this wonderful contract, but when it comes to LinkedIn Lives, we're going to be partnering with many purple hats to do that because Gareth Wax, MD, has a fantastic brand. This is what he does. This is how he reaches. There you go, Gareth.
Thank you.
I doff my hat to you, sir, as well. And you can specify that within the bid, and then the response then becomes about what you do and how you do it. But the physical application of this one tiny little thing or the couple of minutiae that relates to this particular service delivery, you go, we're going to hand that over to Gareth and his team, and this is how they do it. And that's how you do it. There are a couple of other things that we can talk about when it comes to
you make it sound far too simple. I'm certain that it doesn't. Otherwise, it sounds far too simple.
Well, so a great one for this is IT companies.
Right.
So IT companies, they do there's the 3-step triage. There's the turn it off, turn it on. There's the software check, and then there's the right. Let's have a look at the code. When you get to like layer 3 on the tickets, there's usually something skew with the tech and the technology. It's either a device issue, an iOS issue, but it's something that's quite techy that requires a bit of support. This is also true for telecoms companies as well and softwares. Now, you'll often find that IT, telecoms, and cyber are bundled together. You might be able to find all of those ingredients on the same aisle at the supermarket, but they don't all do the same thing.
Certainly not.
It is very unusual to have a cyber security specialist or a cyber specialist at an IT firm or at a telecoms company, unless they are reselling or wholesaling a specific product, in which case they're going to back it out to one of their vendors. So then when you're a smaller company, maybe you're turning over anything up to 3, 4, 5 million, really, you are unlikely to have specific arrangements, but you're going to find as you're out and about, you do like the IT bits, and you'll find someone that does cyber. So you can, by all means, join together and do an IT response that includes cybersecurity or includes security as a service, or like a knock as a service. So this new fancy thing, in order to combat all of these cyber attacks which are happening at the moment, you get security as a service. So it's a security operations center. There are some agencies that are doing them and some that are not. So you might want to add that in to your IT offering. but there's no way that you're going to be able to spend 150 grand a year on setting up your own service. You're just going to go off and partner with someone who offers it. And this is what consortia arrangements or partnering on bid responses offers you. Now, there's a fundamental piece here in that whoever is the larger provider of services, they generally respond to the bid. Because you wouldn't say, I'm going to do this bid and I'm going to ship out 85% of it to Gareth Wax. It would be far better received if Gareth said, I'm going to do this bid and I'm going to ship out 15% to tender response.
Exactly.
So when you're building your Lego bricks, you put the big ones on the bottom and the smaller ones on top. You don't do it the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So who should take notice of this of consortia? Who's it relevant for?
Oh wow, there's so many different ways. So we spoke about tech, IT, cyber. You've also got architects, so who may need to do M&E or plant rooms.
Right.
So if you're overseeing the architectural design and the installation, no architect's going to install it. They might offer a program management where they'll oversee the project, but then they'll have to reference that they've worked with either several different agencies before or, oh, by the way, we've worked with many purple hats before. They're really good. We've got some indicative numbers from them for the bid response. In which case, they can put in their values. And if they win the bid, you're likely to, or that M&E provider is likely to be awarded that contract. So you've got M&E. What I'm seeing quite a lot of at the moment within tenders is refurbishments. So this is the time of the year for a lot of housing stock providers. So you've got some councils and some social housing where they're refreshing their tenders. They're usually 12 to 18 months kind of tenders. And, it's we want one provider who does kitchen fits, bathroom fits, making the home usable for someone who is now vulnerable. So like little helpers getting up and down the stairs and such, stair lift fitting. But of course, if you're a kitchen fitter, you don't do all of that. Whereas if you know someone who does basic property remedial maintenance, that could be an opportunity for you there.
So one of those, like a handyman kind of organization who supports small businesses and in doing all the extra bits and pieces, like putting grip handles on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, small handyman agency, probably not going to be a one-man band.
No.
One-person band, I should say, for that fully inclusive language. But principle, yes.
A handy person, a handy person agency.
A handy person. Handy person, yes, I like that. Going to get that trademarked. So if you're looking at these, maybe you're a Sparky who's listening in today, or maybe you're a plumber. If you know a small builder, I say a small builder. There's never really any small builders, are there? They always turn over several million. You could always have a chat with them and see whether or not it's something that would be of interest to them. There are lots of things, somebody. So when I'll talk about a housing agency just for a moment. When somebody dies, sorry, very grim topic. When someone passes on,
keep it light.
I will. Thank you, Gareth. That property can't just be immediately let out again to the next person. It has to be modernized. So if you've got Doris who's lived in that home since 1973, and the kids have been born there, they've raised and they've flown the nest, and Doris sadly passes, that property then needs to be modernized. So if it doesn't meet current regulations, you've got rewiring, you've got new kitchen, new bathroom, you've got all of the home adjustments that were made to keep Doris in there and keep Doris happy and comfortable in her own home. They all need to come out. So you've got plastering, you've got decorating, you've got carpets, you've got boilers, you've got water tanks. Oh, Jesus, I'm starting to get lightheaded here with all this list. But you'll find that will generally go to one company.
Right.
And that one company might not necessarily deliver all those things.
But they'll sub them out.
They'll sub them out. Now, most companies that I've helped respond to these tenders in the past, say like builders are us, yeah, we do all of this. We've got our own team of contractors.
Of course.
We always have a 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 10-to-1 ratio. So in the borough of Reading, we've got, I live in Reading, not that
and she admits it freely. Sorry,
I admit it freely. I know there's no web feet or anything. I jest. You know, we've got 10 plumbers within the Reading area with preferential agreements.
Right.
We've got 5 carpet fitters in Reading with preferential agreements. So they can, by approaching them, you get on their list. If you pick up 2 or 3 contracts a year, that pays for itself, right?
Right.
There you go. Consortia agreements. You've got to be in it to win it. And sorry, and very last thing, you have to be referenced in the tender in order to be used on their drawdown. Right.
Well, that's quite something, isn't it?
It is. So if you're speaking to someone today and the tender went in last week, you've missed the opportunity for a year. Now, if a Builders R Us responds to a tender and they say, we have several supplier arrangements, you know, we offer a 3-to-1 ratio on plumbers, a 4-to-1 ratio on sparkies, and they give the list, any council worth their salt or any housing association worth their salt will say, great, give me a list. And can you confirm to me, please, that they will have 5 mil public liability, 5 mil this insurance, 5 mil that insurance? Can you confirm that they're cyber essential? Can you confirm that you check A, B, and C with them? So you actually you have to produce like a matrix over how you manage them, what their skill sets are, and what kind of work they've done for you in the past. So you can't just hop in on an existing agreement. You really do need to be mentioned. And you definitely need to be mentioned in that arrangement, in that contract, the tender, if you are going to be delivering something specific.
So you're going to be delivering a kind of a workshop. Getting yourself written up inside the tender is critical here.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah. So consortia tenders, definitely have a look at it, especially if you think that you've got one flip of the coin covered and you need to get the other side covered, find somebody to partner with. I'm working with a couple of lads up in the northeast. Well, I say northeast, it's probably Midlands East, because my geography is not what it used to be.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the north.
It's north of Watford. That's the southern definition, right?
That's the summary definition. Past the Watford Gap, it's north.
Yeah. So I'm working with a couple of lads. One is a plumber, one is one's a plumber and heating engineer, and one's an electrical contractor. So they do like home fit outs and rewiring. All of the contracts that I found in the last kind of 6 months or so in their area ask for plumbing and heating. You can't do one, you can't do the other, you have to do them both. So they've been friends in school, so now they're friends in work. And they're looking at and they're doing tenders. It's great.
So did they have to create a new identity with perhaps a new limited company attached to it in order?
You can do it that way if you wish to, and you can say that that Consortia X is a 50-50 partnership between Tender Response and Many Purple Hats. You can do it that way. There is no obligation. And in fact, what these two gents are doing, in fact, what a lot of my clients are doing at the moment, is they're responding as principal supplier with this specific little nugget that meets this specification is going to Tender Response, is going to Many Purple Hats.
Right.
And they're doing it that way. But it's horses for courses. I've probably opened up a complete can of worms here, which is great because I love talking about this topic and helping businesses get tenders.
No, I think it's genius because theoretically there's no limit here. You could have 4 or 5 organizations, each providing focused support all together to make a brand new organization just put together for responding to tenders.
Yes, but you don't have to.
No, you don't have to, but I would have thought it creates more trust between the partners within that consortium if they've all put the same amount of skin in the game, you know.
So here's a great reason why I'm really conscious of time today because we're already over our usual allowance.
Apologies for that. That was my fault.
One of the reasons why you shouldn't or you'd be mindful of doing that is of the revenue. So if you have a company that has its own company number and has to complete tax returns, if you only do one contract and that one contract is 20 grand, that company looks small, regardless of the fact that plumbing company does 750,000 and heating company does 800 grand. Regardless of those two entities being so big, the partnership turns over so little that it would actually preclude you or could preclude you from responding to certain tenders, which is why so many look at principal supplier with dedicated resourcing.
As usual, it's been an education. I didn't even realize that was even possible without having set up a third-party entity. I can see now the benefits for not doing so. Vicky, thank you so much for the continuous education. Guys, remember, if you're interested in learning more about how a tender response could improve the cash flow of your company for anything up to, say, 3 or 4 years, depending on which one you go for, and you want to win them, knowing full well that if you don't take advice from someone who's got a 70 to 80% success rate in getting tenders through, such as Vicky Poole, then you could be leaving yourself into a world of pain. And I recommend at the very least you touch base with her. To that end, I do have a thing for you to look at, which is this. It's a bunch of resources that Vicky's put together that may well help you. And I also think if in the first instance, you might want to drop her a line, either by WhatsApp or whatever, 07896 909 776. Do so if you can. I see a whole bunch of people have been with us on Twitter.
Oh, fantastic. Hello on Twitter. I'll go through your comments later.
I don't know why her microphone suddenly became so bright and so loud, but I've dropped that there. Thank you very much, Vicky Poole, for taking part. And I wish you all a safe and exemplary rest of the week. And, of course, great mental health. Bye-bye now.